Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today on the You Can Be Anything podcast. I'm your host, Solange Chair, your girl, So Babes. As you all know, I go out there and look for the people who are willing to share their stories and their experiences with us, and I bring them onto the podcast so we can hear them out. Today, I am honored to be joined by Collins Sakwe. Collins and I are all somewhere in the south of America, and I am so happy that he agreed. He said yes to join me on set today. So thank you again, Collins, for accepting to be my guest on the You Can Be Anything, and you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Isn't that a gentleman kind of thing to say? Did you hear how he responded? It feels good when you talk to gentlemen, and you all know me. It's what I love to do. So today, Collins and I, we want to talk about finding oneself in America. The reason I picked this topic to talk with him is because I know he has some experience. He's been in the country for some time, and we're going to hear all of that from him. And that's why I wanted us to talk about something like this, because there are people who find themselves in the diaspora or in America, and they're still not sure of what is it that they want. They are not sure of what they're out here for. And so I use this as an opportunity to listen to people who have experienced, who are still experiencing it, and just have them talk to us, share their stories, their experiences, their challenges, and all the fun stuff, right? So Collins, thanks again for joining me today. And just to get started, please tell the guests a little bit about you. Who would you say Collins Sakwe is?
Thank you, So Babes. It's actually an honor to be seated here with you and certainly with the multitude of viewers that you have. How do I define myself? An everyday development. I think when I look at myself from that perspective, I have a better appreciation of who I am, but certainly always drawing back from where I came from. What is the adage? If you don't know where you came from, then you certainly would not understand where you're headed to. So I was born and raised some years back. It's amazing when I look at calendars, I go, okay, we're getting younger. Some years back in the Republic of Cameroon, just like everybody else. Parents happen to be from both sides of the country. My mother is Bamileke, and my father is from Indian Division. And so I'm a bipolar mix of the everyday Cameroonian social structure.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, that's who I am.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And so he's one of those people, if today we say, hey, we are splitting Cameroon into two, we don't want a mix of English-speaking Cameroon and French-speaking Cameroon. He's not going to be my friend anymore, right? So for those of us who stand for the separation of Cameroon, these are some of the effects of the things that we're going to suffer if we go that route. But again, I am no politician, but I have a voice. So thank you again, Collins. Thanks for sharing that with us. Again, we want to talk about finding oneself in America. How did you find yourself in this American dream of a country?
I think I like the part where you start with a dream. It means I'm still sleeping. And to God be the glory, because amazing things happen when we go to sleep. And that to me is the summary of our existence. Because in our subconscious lies the power and essence of what drives us in our conscious state. So if the dream is really a dream, I'm still sleeping. And when I wake up, I will discover myself. However, because we are awake, why don't we talk about why we are awake? I am a byproduct of the generosity of this country, the diversity visa lottery program, and just get used to it. You know, I don't know if I can say so many things without putting God first. So what we do here first belongs to Him. It's done through Him, with Him, and without Him, nothing is possible. That's my model. By His grace, I won the lottery at a time in my life when desperation, if you could crown desperation, I think that was the time. Graduating from the University of Yaoundé 1, you know, the biggest scare was now what? Being the eldest in a family of a good number of kids, and to God be the glory. Because
a good number. I I probably call 7. Call a number that it's more than 7 to me. Let me hear.
I think 7 is a number of perfection. So I am not perfect and I don't come from a perfect background. So let's say it's a little bit more than that. Let's put it
Okay.
at 10. So it was about 11. My direct follower passed away 4 years ago. And so rest in peace. And so, yeah, I am the typical product of, how do I put this? Um, when life gives you lemons, you have one of two choices. You can, if life throws lemons at you, you can cry and say, woe is me and why? Or you can ultimately rebrand yourself, squeeze that lemon, and if you
Make
don't have
some
sugar,
yummy
girl, I tell you,
lemonade.
drink that sucker like there was nothing else left.
Yes.
So that's how it turned out, and I believe I'm a byproduct of the people I met through the journey of life. And without calling names, but I'm blessed to see that as God was paving the way for me, He was paving the way for them as well.
Yeah.
Very brief story how I even found myself playing the lottery at Bonas in Yaoundé. I had just finished playing soccer. And the typical thing was after a soccer game, you go eat
At your mom.
So I walked past the Cider Cafe. My very good friend um, left the Cider Cafe where he was working and chased me down the road. He said, Nine, local man, as we call ourselves, come here. Come, let's play the lottery. I was like, man, I don't believe in that stuff. Come on, excuse me. I am trying to become a customs officer, a gendarme, or whatever, because I have to earn my living in the honest way. Teacher, you name it.
Yeah.
Right? And I remember this dude, he just said, I'm going to play the lottery for you. So he sat me on the chair, took the first photo, went, uploaded it, and the system rejected it. Sometimes your blessings will haunt you. And that's a moment when I knew blessings will come to me. And my friend held me. He said, look, man, if I have to tie you on this chair with a rubber, I will do just that. And he did take the picture the second time. And I'll never forget this. I made a mockery of myself, which is a lesson I've always carried along. No matter how bleak a situation is, don't be your own critic. I made fun of myself because the t-shirt I wore had been washed so badly that the color itself looked like part of the t-shirt, looked like part of the fabric, on your chest because it was just wobbly. And I told my friend, I said, Master, when better people they want to play this thing, they will even wear shirt and tie. Me, this t-shirt. And he said, local man, sit here. I didn't pay him.
Yeah.
I didn't pay this guy. And he told me, I know you don't have the money, but I feel the urge to match.
Wow.
Sometimes I get emotional. And he did it. And he said, pay me anytime you feel like paying me, but you don't have to. Always, when your blessing is destined for you, it's a matter of time. And that's how I hear the lottery. That's how I won the lottery. And today, that friend of mine, I wanted to seize this opportunity and say, thank you, Nicholas Okonomajin. Today, he sits as a divisional officer, great friend, great brother, but I owe a debt of gratitude. Without that man, I would not be seated where I am today.
Wow. Some people are put on your path. Some people, there's some people in this life, when you come across, there is nothing that will ever make you forget them. Like they leave such an impact, leave such a mark on you that no matter where you go, you cannot erase it. Right? It's right there on you. It's engraved on your heart. So it's not something that no matter if it's on your body, maybe you will use some kind of steroids and you get rid of that. But this kind of engraving is on your heart. And I'm happy that you appreciate this man. I appreciate that. I'm happy that you appreciate this friend. You still give him the credit. And yeah, That is some good stuff. I know that a lot of people like to tell stories like this. People want to experience these kinds of friendship, and I'm happy that you appreciate it.
I am, I am forever indebted to the man. And our friendship still stays the way it has always been.
Yeah.
We're still local men. And here's another story. And I know Nick will probably get on my case for this. So Nick, don't worry about it. Love you, brother. So we were in the midst of our lives as students at university, and any concours that came up was like, for those who we were just go getters.
Mhm.
Um, and this was the customs concours, and we registered for it. We had to prepare ourselves for the physical fitness test. Right?
Yes.
So I would challenge Nick in the evenings. We would run from Bonas to the reunification monument in Yaoundé, right? And I think I'd say I was a better runner than Nick. So Nick, we would go out and we would take off running at a steady pace, and then it was time to go on a dash sprint.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like taking off right past Lycée Leclerc, right there across from the National Assembly, and I would go on a dash. And Nick would be somewhere back, and he'll be like, local man, maybe in a sprint, the make a man become customs officer. But we were so passionate about wanting to become something. And when that didn't work out, I still learned one thing which keeps me going today. No matter the circumstance, have a sense of humor. Because after the results came out, he found out before me. And I remember him walking up to me saying, I'm going to tell you, local man, maybe now sprint to make man become a better, make a pass customs company. And I said, okay, it wasn't meant for us. A few months down the road, that same man will become my element of grace to destiny.
Wow. Yeah. If you're listening to this and you can we probably know how hard it is to get into those concourse in Cameroon. So again, you even tried, which is a good thing. You even tried. So that is you. That is your journey. That is how you found yourself in the US. You came to the US as a DV lottery winner, and it is not enough to have won the lottery. Yes, it is a good thing because you're coming and you don't have to worry about seeking asylum, getting papers, and all of that. So that's the advantage of the DV lottery because you don't have to deal with all of that. And this is you. You've come into the US. Yes, the DV lottery is not like a work visa that you're going to a country and there is a company that is ready to hire you there and then. It is more like, yeah, this is your opportunity to come here. You can decide what you want to do with your life. We've given you the papers to stay in America. Do you want to go to school? Go to school. Do you have the skill to work? Go to work. To the best of my understanding, that is how the DV lottery works when you come into America. It is not a company based, like, hey, some company is bringing you to hire you. And you had this opportunity to come into the US and start a life of your own. Would you say that coming into the US, you started all over? What I didn't catch what you studied at the University of Yaoundé, but did that transcend into your new journey, into your new American awakening, or did you have to start all over?
I think it's a combination of both. And I still say God works in ways that are far from ours. So I studied bilingual studies with UBN and had a minor in education psychology. And when I moved to the US, first thing, the typical narrative, you must do this. And
Yeah,
we're going to talk
that's
more about
always
that.
something. Mm-hmm.
You must do this in order to,
So,
and that's fine.
mm-hmm.
So I started off, with all gratitude to all those who mentored me because they could only pour from the content of their job. That's one thing I learned, right? So becoming a CNA, working in a factory, and all of those were just, when I tell you that God works in ways we do not understand, I don't consider myself smart. I think through me, he works in his own ways, just like he does with you. Because within however many months, I found myself teaching, getting a teaching job. And I must say, I got a teaching job in the US. I've been in the country for less than a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I didn't have a formal teaching degree, right? But I came home one evening from my job as a CNA. That was like my second month on the job. And I must say kudos to everybody in the healthcare industry, just like everything else. But the work that is involved in that process, culturally, where we come from, there are some taboos and some things you just struggle with.
Yeah.
So I came home, but my persistence was I'd rather earn an honest living than play around. Right? And at the time, I was married. So key fact at the time, right? I was married, came to the US, married, and I had to take care of responsibilities, right? Some would say, well, no, you're here for yourself. I say, well, let's remember this. God doesn't bless you for you. He doesn't. You did nothing special when you went to that embassy and you got a visa. You did nothing special when you got on that plane and flew thousands of miles to get here. And you did nothing special to wake up. So my driving force is how can I become a vessel to his glory, right? And he has never failed. So in that process, I came home from work and I was like, man, am I going to be able to do this? And it was like, with my background in bilingual studies, I wanted to become, to study computational linguistics very badly.
Oh my God, look at this guy.
Computational linguistics was everything to me. It was like, this is fascinating, right? But I had to be where I had to be at the time because I had a covenant at the time that kept me grounded to fulfill the purpose that was bigger than myself, my marriage.
Yeah.
My wife at the time was a student, and so I thought it wise to take a knee to support her so that she can accomplish and then accomplish what she was working on, and then we would move to the next location where she would be doing her doctorate, and then I'll get into my master's, right? So I had to take a pause. But then the CNA thing job was a gut check for me. So I came home that night. And I must tell you, I was just led by the Spirit of the Most High. I went online, just typed teaching jobs, French language teaching jobs in Middle Tennessee. And those were the days when we had the dial-tone internet connections. You plug in, it goes,
Yeah.
and so I was like, I gotta get this. And lo and behold, a teaching position was open. That was in Dixon County, Tennessee. A place I hold near and dear to my heart. So I filled out the job application. The only thing I met on that list was, or the only two things were I could speak French and I had a college degree. But you would think the most important would have been, do you hold a teaching license?
Yeah.
And the reason I bring this up is because you got to remove limitations on your anointing.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. And again, the reason I thank you for saying that is because recently I've seen a lot of us looking more at the loopholes, focusing more on the limitations than the thing that we want to do. Like, oh no, we're already scared to fail without even trying. Oh, I'm sorry I cut you short, but I had to say that. I had to say it.
I think John Maxwell said it best, I think, in the 21 Laws of Leadership. I think one of the laws is we need something to that effect, right? But many of us are the limitations to our own possibilities simply because we don't want to be seen as what?
Right. We don't want to fail as a fail. We
right
want to see as a failure.
Right there.
Yes.
Right there. So people don't want to fail. But then everybody claims, I want to go to school, I want to have an education, I want to go to PhD, which by the way, kudos to my people. Everybody must have a PhD.
Oh God.
Let's wake up, right? That's another thing.
Yes.
But you gotta be willing to explore the limitless potential of your life. Sometimes all you gotta do is throw yourself to the ocean or whatever, right? If you're not in the water, you're not going to figure out whether you can or cannot swim, or how far you can swim, or what strokes you got to take, to swim and swim better. And so that was the mindset I had. I applied for the job, and lo and behold, I got an email. Yeah, like an email or a phone call from the principal, and he said, "Hey, young man, how would you like to interview for this position?" I thought that was the biggest April Fool, if anything of that sort happens after April 1st, right?
Yes.
So I thought, okay, is somebody pulling a prank on me? But anyways, I went for the interview, accepted it, and I don't think in my life I've ever said yes, sir, like I did at that time. Everything to me was yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, because I could not believe it.
Yes.
Right? So I drove from Parksville, Tennessee to Dixon, Tennessee.
Mm.
And my blessed car at the time was a Mercury Topaz. So I'll tell you, I have a very soft spot for
Sentimental
sentimental attachment for Mercury Topazes. That car was in 1998, I believe, Mercury Topaz. And that baby could smoke like she was high on, you know what. I almost called her Shaba. So I wore my first suit that I got after I moved to the US. My brother-in-law had offered me that suit.
Mm-hmm.
And I wore it, put on my tie. I said, I cannot believe this. The mindset was back home, I'll be a functionary.
Mm-hmm. So you were getting used to it.
I was getting used to it, right?
Yes.
So I drove not knowing, and at the time I was not used to using the GPS. I borrowed a friend's GPS, and that thing was telling me turn right, turn. So I'm like, oh Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy. But anyways, I made it to the school, sat in front of the principal's office after the admin assistant had, received me, and the principal walked out of his office, walked past me. When I did something, and on his way back, he asked the lady and said, "Hey, Miss Dawn," I think her name was Dawn Martin, great lady. "Has the young man showed up? This is the guy I'm expecting and everything." She said, "Yeah, he's been sitting right there." And the first thing I did was just get up. It was cultural.
Yeah, you stand up.
I said, "Sir." He said, "No, sit down, sit down." "Man, are you coming to take my job?"
You came in a suit.
I came in a suit, and I said, "No, sir, no, sir." I stood right there like, you probably thought you were watching Kunta Kinte. "No, sir, no, sir." Because I was all focused. But something told me, going for that interview, that there was only one answer. It was a yes.
Yes.
So we walked into his office, and he looked at me. The first thing he said was, "Man, you're taking this interview thing to the top level. Young man, keep it up." Long story short, I ended up getting the job. But I had to meet some requirements, of course. I had to go in for an alternative E license, which is a license for teachers, right, who are not yet certified, but you're going through a master's program. So that's how I found myself doing a master's in education. Shortly thereafter, I got the job. But the interesting part about that job was at the beginning, I had to drive 50 to 55 minutes one way.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, Shaba was very faithful. She would smoke herself through the route, and I'll be like, "We're going to make it, baby. We're going to make it." And she taught me. She taught me the virtue of accepting where you are and enjoying where you are and enjoying the course of your journey.
Yeah.
Because there were times when I would be driving so slowly on the road because I was petting that car. That was my first car. Come on now. the first in my family to own a car, electric cars. Come on, girl.
Mhm.
Go
Big
search
boy.
that baby right now. I
Big
think I
boy.
look, you say big boy. I think I was a direct descendant of King Solomon at that point. So driving out there was a pain, but not so much as getting to discover the students. My students, of course, Dixon, were in the South,
Mhm.
right? And my students were the most amazing people, one of the most amazing people I met after I came to the Woods. That's why Dixon County is a place that I hold near and dear to heart. When I walked in the classroom, we had to say the Pledge of Allegiance,
Mhm.
right? I said it, and shortly thereafter, some of them thought I was a foreign exchange student.
Yeah,
I didn't have
of
this,
course.
and let's just say God was working in ways that I could not even explain at that time. So a student actually offered. They said, "Hey, he must be one of the foreign exchange students. He can come sit over here and everything." And so after the Pledge of Allegiance, I turned around and I said, "Je m'appelle Monsieur Sakwe, je suis votre professeur de langue française." And they went, "No, you gotta be kidding."
I love that scene. I like that feeling.
So to me, it went from driving, the fear of driving, to how am I going to entertain these students? Because at the beginning, to them, it was more about who is this guy?
Yes.
This guy who can say Coca Cola.
Mm-hmm.
How do we say it in Cameroon?
Coca-Cola.
Coca Cola. I had a student, her name was Mercedes. I said Mercedes. And the students were like, "What? No, you got to say that again, Mr. Sakwe." And I wrote the word, a student showed me a picture, and I said, what is this? I think something to that effect. And I said, tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
And the student said, no, we said tomatoes.
Yeah.
I said, no, it is tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, no, Mr. Sakwe. So the cultural blend right there was the flavor of my immersion. And the reason I say that is because I had to learn to appreciate the beauty of where I was.
Yeah.
Driving 55 minutes one way, then drive back. So basically 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
And at the end of the drive, I would go to a class, my master's classes, and then I had a wife. So it was like, okay. But then the students became the highlight of it all. So I did that. I enjoyed it. And the pursuit for more was always there. And I think today that's what keeps me going. The pursuit for more. I believe that it's a shame that we would live our lives not to discover the fullness and the potential of what we were destined for. I think Bishop Dale Droger, if I put him with due respect, it's better for the man. I think he was the one who said something to the effect, one of the richest places in the world is the cemetery. I think it was Bishop Ronald or Tyler Perry, something to that effect. But anyways, regardless, that when you go to the cemetery, you realize that there lies many people who did not live to the fullness of the potential that was within them. And I kept that at the back of my mind every day. Why do I wake up? I have to wake up with a purpose, first of all, to be grateful, and to discover what is my value added proposition to the day. Because you see, God has blessed each and every one of us, but He's not going to do the work for you.
Yeah.
He's not. So I went from teaching and decided to join the military. Actually, that was my first thing I wanted to do, but my wife at the time was like, no, people are dying, and that was 2005.
Come on.
Hey, the height of the surge, you'll be in Iraq and everything. And I said, look, let me tell you the truth. I'd always wanted to be a military officer. My dad was in the army in Cameroon. I grew up around soldiers. So I wanted to do it from the get-go. And my wife was like, no, that's not the best for us. And I said this, and I got to look here and say, this, some say happy wife, happy life. But I must say that when you learn the power of submission to the mission that is greater than yourself. It doesn't matter who it comes from. You got to learn how to honor your partner. You're not afraid of them. Society may say, you look at this one, you fear a woman.
Oh,
Woman
yeah.
talk this to this. No, it's called the ingredient to a happy life. You have to learn to remove the crown off your head and put it on the heads of those around you. Because when you can empower them to experience royalty, you will not be shy of the climate of royalty. So I had to take a year just about to persuade my wife at the time, not convincing her, to persuade her. You see, baby, this is for our good. This is for our good. But she knew, she was a person who knew. She said, look, man, I know you want to do this thing. And death means nothing to you. I said, yeah, it's the essence. We're all going to die. I'm not going to be selfish, but I want to do this. And so one of the driving forces to me, besides my experience of healing, was that when 2011, 9/11 happened,
Yeah.
I remember I was a young man in Bonaberi, Douala, and I saw what had happened. And many of the young men around me were like, look, we will volunteer to join the United States military to fight whoever caused this pain to this great nation. So that to me was my unique opportunity. But anyways, I ended up joining the military. I joined the Tennessee Army National Guard. I was going for active duty. The recruiters are very smart, and that's the thing I learned about recruiting too. Every day in your life, you're dealing with a recruiter. Your friends are recruiters. Your coworkers are recruiters. Your children are recruiters. Your spouse, your loved one is a recruiter. You just need to know what you're looking for. Otherwise, you may end up making a good choice, right? I don't believe that anything is bad because we always have the opportunity to learn. But anyways, my goal was to go active duty, straight up, and I wanted to be in the armor because that's what I saw my father do. The Bataillon Blende de Reconnaissance in Douala. I was like, I want to be like my dad. I want to be that guy in the tank. I want to be out there. We're rolling out, and the M1A1 Abrams tanks. We're like, oh, I want to be in this thing so badly, right?
Yeah.
But then again, I thought, okay, what are the options? You have to bring your significant other in the conversation. And she and I had a decision, and I became a medic. One of the best decisions I made. And I came back, in the guard. And shortly thereafter, I said, I'm going to become an officer. And lo and behold, I put in my pocket. I worked with this guy who always reminded me of why I should become a better version of myself. One day he left me a sticky note on my laptop and he said, clean the latrines just like your mama would have you do it. The few people who saw it were very offended and they said, report this guy. This is a very toxic. But then I also thought, his job sustains his family.
Mm-hmm.
I can either take this and be bitter or be better.
Yep.
And I said, I'm going to take this as a fuel to go to the next level. So I put in my pocket. I was accepted in school to become an army officer and became an officer. I served in that capacity up until about 2 years ago when I got.
There's something you're keeping. How? Okay. Wow, this is interesting because just listening to your journey, listening to how you've come across again, one thing that caught my attention when you spoke, I've spoken to a couple of Cameroonian men like you who come to the US with a family or they come and they build a family here and they have to. How was this experience for you, right? When you said you had to take the meal for your wife to continue her education. The only reason I'm talking about this is because you're not the only one that has shared that kind of information with me. I know a couple of other men like you who decided to say, hey, I'm going to sit back and sponsor my wife in school so that she can, once she gets there, then I'll start working on myself. Where do you think this comes from? Is this some kind of a cultural thing? Or would you say that it's just a personal decision that as young men, you people make to propel your wives or the women in your life, then you catch up with them?
Um, I can only speak for myself,
Yeah.
right? Everybody's story is different. And I want to be clear that when I say support my wife, it's not like, oh, I had to pay her tuition and all of that, right?
Yeah.
So we were keeping up, right? We were keeping the lights on, and we were committed to our faith. Even though we're divorced today, I still hold a lot of respect for her. She's the mother of my three children. Amazing, right? I believe that everyone is driven by their own values. And I say that because growing up, and even up until this day, when you talk to people, the first thing you always hear is, you were looking for Ghana. People want to identify you by your lineage.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine if you want to do that.
So where are you from? Where in Cameroon are you from?
Who are you?
What do you do?
What schools did you go to?
Yes.
And all of that. That's beautiful. But what is most relevant to me is who you are. Some things, I must say, kudos to my brothers out there, right? That's a different thing we talk about. But we taught ourselves to become men. We taught ourselves. And we're teaching ourselves to become better men. I think what a unique opportunity society has today than to admire and appreciate the course of life that these warriors are going through every day to become better versions of themselves. When they love deeply. There's the whole notion that, you know what, they're all dogs, they're all chicks, they're all this. Yeah, of course, you only see what you reflect or what's in the back of your mind. If in your subconscious you believe that every man is a pet, of course you're going to see dogs, or why not cats, right? But then also remember that amongst dogs there are breeds. Just know your breed, if you believe all are dogs. So all these men, I speak for myself, I'd say my conviction was God is first. Now, some people, there's the illustration: God, the husband, the wife, the kids, and everything else, right? I don't see a woman as an inferior being. God did not take Eve from a man, the sole of a man's feet. He's from the rib. So stand next to me. And we're not in a race. That's a thing. We're like, go, get all of these. And then now, voila!
He's the winner.
Well, you got to realize that life is not a destination.
It's a course.
It's a course. And if we take the time to appreciate the journey, I think we'll become more conscious about how we season that meal. A bit of salt, a bit of maggi, a bit of everything. So I'd say, to me, it was, and it still is, right? A blessed opportunity to serve God by elevating those He has put in my life directly. For my ex-wife at the time, it was more about, hey, baby, what are you trying to become? Like, if you were to define the best you, which I learned through life that there's no such thing as the best you. People say, I'm living my best life. Oh, no, don't get me started, baby. That's another story. What's your best life?
My rich life.
No, you're not rich. No matter
Yes.
how much money you make today, you'll still not be able to fulfill all the needs that you have. You know why?
All desires.
You are driven by desires.
And yeah, endless.
Endless. But if we make a conscious decision to say, how am I impacting the lives of those around me daily? You realize how much peace you get going to bed. There's not much. You can have, I know people today who work 2, 3 jobs and hey, kudos to you, right? Some of us are also in the hustle. But when you look at that money, you just have a heightened sense of importance, only to realize that the quality of your sleep did not change.
Yeah.
The number of hours you have in a day did not change. And no matter how much you redesign your home, you can only occupy one space.
Mm-hmm. Oh
When
my
you get
gosh,
in that bed, you can only sleep on one side. And no matter how much you love your sweetheart, when you make love with her or with him, you can only go so far. I think we have become far too removed from the baseline of what defines us as humans. The quality of life those around us have. And I must say this, man like woman. Because when God said, let's make man in our own image, yeah, of course, the Bible talks about Adam. But the same God said it was not good for Adam to be alone. That's how powerful Adam was. So by yourself, you are power. You're power. You're powerful. But then somebody comes into you. Man like woman. The Bible talks about Eve, but in today's context, how are you impacting the life of the person you share the space of your life with? I think a bigger danger than sin. When I was going through my divorce, right, um, that was a very remarkable phase of my life. I had just returned from overseas on assignment as a diplomat. So the embassy and the quality of life was second to none. You know, my kids went to schools. I never thought it was possible. But it reminded me of an entry I'd written into a friend's journal on her birthday. We were in Lower Seat, the city led with a baby. And it was like, talk about yourself. I wrote a few things. I said, I want to become a man of God. I want to serve God. I don't know if I could pastor or something like that. And then I said, I really love to join the military, but I also want to become a diplomat. And it dawned on me, at the height of everything I was going through, something came to me in my subconscious and it said, how blessed have you been? Then I recalled, I know that friend's name, right? We're in Lower Sea. And it was like, oh, that's true. But the thing I'm trying to say is, at that time, I was so caught up in the mindset of why me? I'm at the top of what I ever thought possible. Here I am getting ready to go for my promotion board to become a major. Here I am. But God, what is happening? And I could hear his silent, the Spirit of God remind me, saying, you realize how blessed you are. I came this close from thinking about the end solution.
And you're at the peak of your life.
I was there. I was falsely accused at work by a supervisor who, God bless the man, it's his journey. I was treated poorly, right? But my faith was always in doing the right thing. And then coming home, the situation wasn't any better. And I talk about this now, not as a show of emotion, but to increase awareness to the fact that mental health issues are real. Don't be ashamed of them. At that point, I was at the peak of my imagination, but then being treated, or life brought me to a point where I was like, there is a disconnect. And so I'm battling some issues at work, I'm battling issues at home, right? And then in the middle of all of these, oh, my sister dies. December. God, where are you? I'll never forget. God put me in the midst of a family. I could have been in a separate place of my own. I could pay for it. I, I was paid pretty good. But the Spirit of God led me into the home of a family. And that family nurtured me. This was a young brother I had stretched an arm of fellowship to some years prior.
Yeah.
And then here we are about 10 years after. He's the one hosting me. And in his basement, and he kept telling me, big bro, you're not going anywhere. If you're going to deal with this, we're going to deal with it with you. So could you imagine all of that? But what that taught me was appreciate where you are. And to all these brothers who are making the sacrifices, I say appreciate making those sacrifices. You don't have to be celebrated. You don't. Far too often we do things and we expect immediate results. But one thing I learned is delayed gratification. If I can sow a seed and see you be better and do better, I think that's the ultimate mark of success. When you can see, especially your lady, if you can see her do better, that's an ultimate mark of success. Because the success of your lady is a blueprint to your children. Your children already know daddy has to get up and go to work. Now, I'm not saying mama doesn't have to go to work, but it's somehow already ingrained. Like daddy has to go and do the work. But when mama goes out there and does it, and mother, your energy is what feeds posterity. What's a typical thing in Cameroon? When we have a papa, or you did something wrong, mom would, well, like we said, toast you, but it'd be like, wait until your father comes in.
Yeah.
But the mother, that's the energy. And so men are realizing that we need to feed that energy. But I must say this. What a failed marriage taught me is that marriage, just like every relationship, is a school. I think that's why they give you a certificate before. At the time you're studying.
Before you even start, they should give it when you're doing good.
You would think. You would think. But that's it. So they just want you to know that it's not about how much love you can bring into the relationship. Some people cannot love. I think let's be very clear. Some people, when I say you cannot love, I mean in the sense that no amount of love you express for them will be loving enough for them, right? You have to go beyond. I love you. What does that mean? Seriously. I mean, you've been around life. Tell me, what does I love you mean?
It's been a long time I heard that. I've never thought about it. Again, when I hear from Haley, I love your mommy, it means she's gonna do all the things I asked her to do. Promise from her heart. But it never really happens that way.
Another time, it's like, let me give her the icing on the cake,
Like,
so that she can deviate her attention from
yes,
something.
yes, like to manipulate. She uses those words to manipulate me when she wants something, and
Listen, girl.
I know she does that, and I identify it. That sometimes I'm like, oops, she's so young and she already knows that she can do that.
So that's the thing, right? I love you. Beautiful. Is love what we need? You see the brother who has to take a knee for his family, and I must also say the sister who has to take a knee for her family.
Yeah. That happens too.
Because we gotta get to a
Always.
point where we realize that the battle of the sexes has to stop.
Yeah. It's nice.
We talk about other sexes, right? Men are this, women are this, when we should be talking to each other. Hello, Queen. How are you today?
My king.
Tell me
How are you
about
doing
your
today?
day.
Yes, love that.
Tell
That's
me
true.
about what made you stand out today. And by the way, tell me about what made you feel low. How many people want to talk about their lows in life in a way that is about finding peace and a solution?
Mm.
Far too often we hear things like, if Mary play with me again, this stupid Joe and all whatnot. You're not really thinking that person is stupid. You think that person is crazy. So you're not looking for a solution. You're not looking for peace. So I say we need to go beyond I love
I
you.
love you.
But we need to become what? Conscious, loving beings.
Not just use the phrase.
Not just use the phrase. Flowers are beautiful, right? I have a repertoire of Valentine's Day screw ups. So if you want a classic definition of a guy who can screw up on Valentine's Day,
Tendencies.
because to me, I respect the day, but I must say this. If I have to respect a day to do and to be who I'm supposed to be every day, no. Can I take your car and go clean it for you? Can I fix your lunch, breakfast? Do I know what's important to you? I think to me, those are the values and the qualities that nurture us. We marry a person thinking we know their nature, but we ignore the principle of nurturing ourselves to make that experience loving. You can't love anybody all the time. I love you. So what? Now what? Then what? If I told you I love you 30 minutes ago, I bet you 2 hours from then you will not remember what exactly I told you I love you. But through the process, if I practice what I call acts of random kindness,
Acts of kindness.
exactly, I am loving. You're seated there. Can I get you a stool? Drop your legs. You're on your chair. Can I walk past you and just give you a gentle rub on your shoulders? Give appreciation. I know you like your omelet a certain way. And I make that for you. And the classic, oh, he served me breakfast in bed. Okay. Did I serve you the breakfast?
Mhm.
We have to learn. We have to. The reason I bring this up, right, is because at the height of my own trauma, right, I had to learn that while from a societal perspective, I was doing pretty good. And I don't have to say I think I was.
Yeah.
I think I'm doing good. I'm doing better
Yeah.
because I love who God is making me to be every day. A phrase came to my mind, man cave.
Mhm.
Phrase, a word, man cave. And I thought about it. I said, you realize that a lot of men are in caves. In the South, it's very popular. There's a section in the house, not just in the South, in the US, they call it as the man cave. That's his space. That's everything he can become. Hello, Queens. Let's talk about that. If your man has to go be in a cave, you better watch out. It's your home. Why should he have a cave? And by the way, why is it not called his palace?
Okay.
Because that's a cave, a hole. It's dark. It's removed. It's like his place of solace. If he has to go look for a place of solace away from you, think about it. So in the process of my own divorce, separation all the time, God put this in my heart and said, reach out to me. And I will be wrestling with that, the Almighty in the basement of my friend's place. By the way, I call his name, Demazini Che, great American sailor, great guy, and his family. I'll forever be indebted to them, right? In the basement. I was like, yeah, there's got to be a reason why I'm in the basement.
And you're thinking about man cave.
And I'm thinking about man cave. Don't get me wrong. The whole house was my dwelling place. I ended up occupying the house after the family left because I took it over, right? And God had a way. He wanted me to be in a place where I had to go through incubation. Men have to grow.
Hmm.
But that growth has to happen in a place where nurturing occurs. We got to learn to take the expectations, the role playing out of our relationships. If your man can work 8 hours and come home safely and support you in his way possible, celebrate him. Don't worry about he could be working 16, 20 hours out there. You just don't know what that man's body is going through. Same thing applies to the woman. I think we need to focus a lot more on who we're becoming. So the cave to me was, if men are in caves, why? I started making notes. Relationships, what could it be? Communication. I said, no, communication is not a problem because people talk.
But that's known to be one of the most common problem in relationships. And people talk about like, oh, we have issues because of miscommunication, of not communicating enough. That's one of the most common things you hear when
You
people
don't communicate enough. How do you qualify communication?
how enough is communication.
That's the point. You realize that a lot of people don't even know how to communicate with themselves. They don't. We can talk throughout the day. Communication has to result to something. when I hear people say communication, like I started working with some couples, right? I work with this couple friends, and through their struggles, I was able to look at my brother in the face and tell him, bro, you need to fix yourself. She doesn't appreciate the version of you that's coming home. Then I looked at the system and said, you need to rethink what you're looking for. You're expecting the ideal. This guy is real. And when you peel the back of the onion, let me say this. Beyond just communication, a lot of people, and I want to say myself, are the byproduct of social trauma.
Yeah.
You are best predisposed to replicate what you experienced growing up, or better still, did not experience. If you grew up in a home where your parents were not the best communicators, right? Because don't worry much about a divorce. Don't worry much about the separation. Those things happen. Capitulate on the things that didn't work. They were not good communicators. They were not good providers. They were not good listeners. So a lot of us have grown with this social trauma. And a mentor told me once, a mother, and she said, my son, you see, the ladies you marry, they are intellectually capable, but don't mistake intellectual capacity for social abilities.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know how to confront your own problems, if you don't even know what it means to be a person in society outside of your parents', I don't want to call it dungeon, because a lot of people grew up in dungeons, right? Caves. Some of these beautiful houses with great fences, no disrespect, right? They were just protecting the outside from seeing the real you. So a lot of people grew up in these facades of what is good until we had to face life. So people deal through all of these. And until we can go back and examine ourselves, we will be reacting to some emotions from the past our present knows nothing about. I dated a young lady, beautiful woman. So I believe women are the closest essence to godliness on earth, right? So I don't take a woman for granted, right? And if anyone felt like you took me for granted, I personally want to apologize because I don't believe in that, right? I have a daughter.
Yeah.
She is my,
Training.
oh, thank you. She is the center of everything. So even when I date, I think to myself, how would I expect another man to treat my daughter? As I tell you, I'm peaceful until you go there.
Leave the little girl alone.
Yeah, no, if you go there, you will find the you know who on earth, right? But that's my duty as a father, right? But the thing is, in our sphere of interactions and relationships, we need to come to a place of mindfulness to know that we are all broken. And so when I listen to men, I hear stories they don't want to even tell their lives.
Mm.
They don't, because we will judge him. We will judge him from where he came from. We will judge him for what he's not doing. We will judge him for what his friends are doing that he's not, right? But each and every one of us is called to walk life a certain way.
You don't have our path.
We do. We do. So why do men make those sacrifices? I don't think it's a sacrifice. I have a good friend, an army officer, and he taught me this. Like he said, "Booming," as they used to call me, "Booming." You don't help your spouse in taking care of your children. So one day I told him, I said, "Hey, sir, I need to run home. I got to go babysit my kids and everything." So my wife, he said, "Booming, you don't do that. They are your children. You babysit them." It don't. It don't. And what that taught me is this. I've come to realize that we have to appreciate who we are in relation to who we are becoming. Don't worry about the rest. You can't control where you came from, but you can influence where you end. And I look at even my sisters and I say, "Queen, you've been through a lot. Failed relationships, you were cheated on, you were lied on, you were taken for granted, your work was not appreciated." Drop that. Whomever you have with you, take the time to build. Don't worry about your father and your mother's relationships. This great mentor mother of mine told me, she said, "My son, your generation calls it a divorce. My generation called it, would you go to America for go take care of?" You said it.
Grandkids.
I'm not going to say it.
I think America to take care of the grandkids.
Well, what do you think you were showing your kids? Their father was not good enough.
Wow.
He wasn't. So you left, right? And the thing I learned too is this. Don't try to leave your current relationship off of the memories of someone else's. If your mother didn't have a pleasant relationship, it is not your place to come and correct it. It's your place to build yours. And to the men, our fathers, I love my father passionately. I respect the man. And the thing I learned about my father is as long as you strive to become the better version of yourself, what else matters? My father was a typical Cameroon soldier guy who, the prototype. And after he retired, I saw a different side of my father. I actually learned more about him after his retirement.
It's the same thing with my dad. I enjoyed my dad the most after his retirement. I had the most conscious and deep conversations with my father after he retired. What is this thing?
It's no fault of theirs. Because if you go back and you try to do the sociogenesis analysis of why they did what they did, how they did it, you will be cheating yourself. The clock is ticking, your time is running. Take what you can. More importantly, appreciate it. Somehow we have been grooming to believing that we should appreciate what we like. That's good. But appreciate what
You have.
you have before you wake up to the crude reality of it's gone.
Ah, Collins. Whew.
You have to appreciate it. That's why when we date, when we parent, when we marry, when we work, that's another thing. Are we appreciating? You're thinking about this man can be the most active guy in bed. First of all, let's look, let's get real. Somewhat, this man has to work and deal with social issues. By the end of the day, the bro is like, okay, let me keep it together to give mama some seasoning for the evening.
Mhm.
He ain't gonna come in there and perform to you like them, like those
Like
people
it's
you
like
see.
it's the Saturday mornings. What about Saturday mornings?
So no, Saturday mornings are very unique. Okay, I had my routine. I must tell you, and you know, if I'm lying, my ex can testify to this too. But Saturdays were my mini Sabbath. Those were the mornings. That was the day of the week I dedicated to my wife at the time. Don't worry. She liked her own things. So I already put in the back of my mind. As a soldier and being a commanding officer, you know, you're gone. You have to be the first one at your company. You work out before your team comes, your company comes, you work out with them, you work, then you come home, and then you still. So Saturday mornings to me were I have to cook breakfast for the most part.
It was a treat.
I have to take the kids out, right? I do the laundry. I'm not saying she wasn't. And oh, by the way, let's get real. Man, raise your sons to know how to clean their own stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not raising my daughter to go be someone's housemaid. Now, let's get real. Raise your sons to do their own.
We gotta
chores.
raise these boys right.
That's a different topic, but that's a great point. Teach them, model, as a matter of fact. Do their laundry, clean the house, cook for the family. Saturday was, for me, community service to my family.
Mhm.
By 5 p.m., 6 p.m., after we got home, because I took those kids out, and heck, girl, I worked them out.
Mhm. Make sure that they are broken.
They are from the trampoline park to sometimes
So
I
a
take
jump
them
house.
to a jump house and whatever. And oh,
They're tired by the time
by
they
the
come
time they got
home.
home, Sam's Club was like a routine for us.
Mhm.
On our way back, we'll do groceries. And I always said, hey man, what do you need? And this and this, right? I was like a patrol officer in my house, by the way. And my wife used to, in the beginning, she was like, you do too much.
Mhm.
I say, yeah, because if I don't do it now, I'll be doing far too less. And if I'm doing less, it'll be more problems. So I'll open the refrigerator and look, is there enough milk,
Mhm.
cheese, eggs, this.
Mhm.
On my way back from work, hey baby, don't
Replenish.
worry about it. I'll pick this up. Right? I even remember even my in-law at the time would be like, this man, nothing ever finished inside the house. Yeah, because you know what? I want my wife to focus on other things,
Mhm.
to replenish herself, right? So it was an act of service. It was. So serving breakfast, doing all of these things, they are acts of service that we as men have taught ourselves. Before we are judged, before I'm not here to do the apology for men.
Mhm.
Because by the way, queens, you see the man that looks like nothing before you, you have a son. So maybe the dogs that we describe in society
We are raising them.
are bred in the environments we know.
We are the ones breeding those
I
dogs.
am not blaming a woman. I think women are phenomenal. They are the essence of God in human form, because how you could carry another human being in your stomach for in your womb for 9 months. I can barely stand a stomach ache for 9 seconds, not more of 9 minutes. But you have to carry for 9 minutes. There is power in you. That man's deficiencies are opportunities. And when we get to the point where we understand that we need to share this journey called life, we will not be too worried about the picture perfect person.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't even exist. That's us mind
A girl
thing.
told me, she said, my father was the most absent person in my life, but he was the best provider. So now when she relates with a man in her life, she relates with him from a position of provision.
You don't have to be there. Provide for me.
Provide for me. You're not doing enough for me. I need money for this. And the guy says, I love you, darling, but I can't do it right now. Why? You're not a man. You're not this. But let me tell you, I watched a video the other day. Judge Judy, no, not Judy. She's a popular judge on TV. And she said something to the effect of, never hit a man to a place where his identity, I don't like the word ego, by the way, his identity is crushed. He never forgets it.
Yeah.
Same thing applies to a woman. If you know your woman's weaknesses and deficiencies, cry for help, but don't undermine her. But here's the problem. In our in our own context where we grew up in, a cry for help is what? It's a weakness. Could that be the baseline for why people behave in certain ways? Because people no longer feel comfortable crying in the midst of those they call their own.
Mm-hmm.
I like our community meetings, but I started taking a step back from most of them because we talk about everything the way we should.
Yeah.
You see, when a marriage goes sour, the popular thing is that man was not responsible.
Oh, yeah. Finger pointing begins.
Or the woman is this. Let's get real. Since when in our communities did we even have council of men who are mentoring other men? Like literally, if you walk into an elderly man's presence today and you said, who are you mentoring in your community? You know what happens? We are in this mindset of, I am on top, others must be below. And as long as they can monitor what I am doing, I think I've done my part. But let me tell you, each generation that comes after you is more susceptible to catching the loopholes. Some people, they will keep quiet and die in agony.
So speaking out.
Instead of speaking out. And I'll tell you this. There is no weapon of mass destruction much greater than a relationship in which your partner cannot speak up freely.
Yeah.
If you have to get an emotional reaction to your partner speaking up, you are not yet ready for a relationship. That's why a lot of people suffer and end up in failed relationships. I should be comfortable enough to tell you that I don't think I let me say I don't think. When you do this, it makes me feel this way. We are addressing a particular instance. We're not addressing you, we're addressing that instance. But what happens? I'm not bashing sisters here.
Yeah.
But when he speaks up about that thing, what do you I'm not gonna say it. What ends up happening? The silent treatment, all right? We go on click click,
Shut down.
lockdown, right?
No access.
No access. And I will tell you this, some brothers, anyway, that's a different topic. But yeah, they can go sit in the closet and whatever. I don't even know, right? Because it's interesting what you hear other people say is their coping mechanism.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is this. More than who people see you to be, become somebody your natural environment appreciates. Man like woman, like I share with my fellow brothers, if she's having a good day, that's not when you become rational. Listen to her. Validate her emotional state. Even though sometimes you can sit there and be like, Chineke, within the other. So is this about Sandra in the office we're talking about to an extent where now somehow I am connected to this story? It's okay. Because women, they are connected to how they feel.
Mhm.
We are okay, so this is the problem. Let me fix it.
Yeah.
So you see, honor the feelings, acknowledge it, grow in your listening skills and comprehension, and then subsequently find a time to say, hey, baby, can we talk about this?
Talk about specific things.
Let's talk about the specifics. Let's talk about who we're becoming as a couple. What is important to you? And you gotta take off the gloves. I say this without any fear of reservation. If any time you have to put on gloves in your relationship, the problem is not the person you're trying to find. The problem is you. Because you see everything as an opportunity for a fight. Remove the gloves and give the person the sense of, I want to take in what you have to say. But now, there are going to be boundaries. We're not going to raise our voice. We are going to treat each other with dignity and respect. Far too often, who we're becoming becomes problematic because we have deviated from the baseline. Whatever this conversation is about, whatever we do, we will treat each other with dignity and respect. That's what love is all about. Don't tell me you love me. Don't buy me the flowers. Don't buy me the car. Don't give me the money. Now, I'm not saying don't give the sister the money. Well, you can. Now, let's get real. All
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
I don't have to go broke because I have to impress you. Who are you? A robber? Yeah. If you don't know your partner to the extent what he makes, and she makes, you guys are in trouble.
And that's already a danger zone, right?
Big one. There are many men who don't know what their wives know,
Vice versa.
and vice versa. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm spoken out for you.
No, but you're right. But what's the issue here? We don't want to be vulnerable.
Okay.
The only person you can never cheat on in this world is your subconscious mind.
Yeah, yourself. You own it, right?
You own it. Hide all what you can. The day you either become incapacitated or you leave this world, the truth about you comes out. So, in essence, are we saying that we are beautifying a life of lack of sincerity?
Yeah, because people are scared to speak out. People are so, as you just said, I think it comes a lot from that judgmental fear of judgment, fear of failure. Again, we've talked about different kinds of fears here, right? The whole failure thing, people are scared to fail, people are scared to cry out because they don't want other the people around them to feel like, oh, this person. Like again, there's just a lot of I think we're going around with a lot of guards. And this is a question that I've asked someone before. I'm like, yeah, I'm not married, but I've not even had that, let me call it the luxury. I'm getting to 40 soon. And I should be able to say, hey, have I had that luxury of living with someone and experiencing what it is like? I talk about things like this because through this, just based on popular, again, don't blame me, my head is out there, right? I'm hearing what the world is saying. That is I'm basing my judgment, everything I'm basing all of this on what I hear, not what I have experienced, right? And based on what I hear, what I see, there is a confusion of, hey, is this even worth it? You get it? Is being with someone even worth it? Not so long ago, I asked a friend, and he was like, hey, you see the peace you have now, just being the single mom to Haley? Enjoy it. Because the moment you start wishing that you had a companion, be ready that there's not going to be peace. And then I sit back and I ask, is it really true? Doesn't mean that to have a companion, to be in a relationship, to be married, you can't have peace. Is that really the definition of what it is? It's just, again, I'm just saying this because I find it really crazy. And if you've gotten to my age, my level of maybe, let me call it again, I'm still work in progress, but I can always say that I've come a long way. I've experienced life in my own way. I have built for myself. But if there is something that I feel like I still need, and I feel like I need, let me put it that way, it's a companion, right? And if my biggest fear is, hey, that companion, whoever it is coming to take away the peace I have now, why is it even worth it? Right? Is it even worth it? So it is such a confusing, I don't know, I don't even know how to call this, but again, that was me just expressing myself based on the last thing we just talked about. But hey, you know what? As you say, if I don't get into the sea, I cannot figure out how to swim, right?
That's right.
So,
but let's go back to your word fear.
yeah,
False evidence appearing real.
False evidence appearing real. Yeah. So what I fear, do you think that what I fear is what I'm going to attract?
I think to some extent, because again, like I said earlier, right when we started, our subconscious is the baseline of so much more that happens. And that's why I believe that meditation is an indispensable component of our lives. You can meditate in various forms, but you gotta develop a routine for yourself where you come into the presence of who you are. A lot of people seek relationships as a way of not dealing with themselves. That's their real. You know what your insecurities are. You may be very much on the edge. You're someone with a short fuse.
Easily go off.
Easily go off, right? I dated this lady, and when I tell you, an amazing person, but her fuse was like, whoa, okay, that doesn't make you a bad person. You have to come to terms with who you are. You have to own it. Meditation. You have to write priorities out. I know we started the conversation from who we're becoming, from the journey to America to here,
Yeah.
but nothing we get compares to who we become. You have to write priorities out to you. You see, before that man or woman meets you, they should know what are goals and no goals to you. Doesn't make them right, doesn't make them wrong, but they are your priorities: spiritual, physical, emotional, financial, relational, professional. A lot of people we meet. No, if you go and do this training, I'm not going to call any names, right? In 2 days, you will become, in 3 minutes, you will become, in 30 seconds, you will become. But you see, the point is, we have put the importance on what we become, not so much on who we become. So when we get to that what, now who is down here and is struggling. So that's why when you have a stressful moment at the office, you balance it on the people at home. So you got to set priorities. And when you meet that person, I love these chairs. I love having it. I said this to a lady I was dating. When I say date, a lady I dated, it's not like I'm on a dating market. No, 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 no. I am not on the dating market. So let me just make that clear. I am not a smart guy. I'm not handsome. I am not. So I'm just focused, right? But the few times I happen to have been, and they were eye openers to me, more so about myself, not that person. Um, Defining priorities. If you're going to get into a relationship, make it clear. Mr. Baby, which by the way, uh, someone once told me and said, don't call me lady. That's very disrespectful. You know, being a lady is the apex in the English language. You know, one of the endearing terms
My
of
lady.
respect. My lady, right? But anyway, you never respect people. And you have to sit down. Sex is not everything. It's not. I'm sorry. They say to men, learn to make love to your woman before she walks into the bedroom. Let's flip that as well. Sister, learn to turn on your brother as well before he makes him into the bedroom. Because if he were to open, and this I say this without any limitation to genders, if you don't take the time to know how your partner's day works and to empower them, what you find in the bedroom is just a microcosm of so many things. So set your priorities. You know yourself. You may be someone with a high libido. Your sexual appetite is unique. Your partner's sexual appetite may be different. Talk about it. Don't be ashamed. If your partner cannot perform certain gymnastics, like you, because some people are natural gymnasts,
Oh yeah.
right? If your partner cannot perform certain gymnastics, then you would, right? Talk about it. Find a healthy medium. Finances. Be transparent. What is this thing that money has become the status symbol of everything?
It's in the core. We are all putting money in the center of everything, which is not where money belongs.
Money doesn't. Money just gives you the ingredient, the seasoning to an experience. You can never be on a cruise all the days of your life. You can have a Bentley, but the truth of the matter is that you will not sleep in that Bentley. Heaven knows your bed will not even be as worthy as that bed.
Isn't that true for many people in this world?
So we have to come to a point where we should not be getting into relationships or becoming better versions of ourselves under the influence of fear.
This whole fear thing, it's a serious problem.
It's bad. Like
It's a serious
people
problem.
are on alert mode. I have never seen. I was an army officer. Readiness is number one. But you see, stepping out of the army for a little bit, you realize that, oh my goodness, we live in a society which everybody is on the edge.
Yep.
We're like a microwave. We want it done fast, quickly,
Mhm.
go. No. Pause. I used to do this with my significant other. I said, pause. I want to be in the moment with you. How are you doing? What you see, I didn't get this. No. I did not talk about what. I'm talking about you.
You.
So my point is, we have to come home to ourselves.
Yeah.
And I know the brother said, well, you see the peace you have and everything. No. Let's get real.
Mhm.
You see, the commercial sector has generated stuff that people can use to replicate the presence of another human being.
It's not. It does not work. It's not the same. It's not. It is not. I don't think that the commercial sector, come talk of our AIs that living and walking around, they will never take the place of a human being, especially if you're someone who desires a human being. Of course, there are people out there who are fine with. Remember, single life is a vocation, right?
Mhm.
There are people who are fine with that. They're good. That is their choice. But if for any second you're a woman like me, and all what is blocking someone like me from adventuring into all of this is just that fear, then I'm calling this, you put me in a place to think of my subconscious. Like, because now just by talking to you, and hey, my dear listeners, we all know that when I bring this guest, I always call myself the first beneficiary, right? Because I get to learn a lot. I speak to people who are way more experienced than I am, people who have come across things. And to me, this is an opportunity for me to learn. And I chose to have this conversation on the podcast so that someone listening as well could benefit from it, right? But I always want to grasp as much as I can for myself. And now I'm just rethinking just by sitting here and watching Captain Sakwe speak. It's like, I need to think about my fears. What am I afraid of? Like, and that's something that I need to take into my knee space. I need to take into my meditation spot. For real. What am I afraid of and why am I? Oh God. That's not why I brought you here, but you see the things you do. sometimes we never know what awaits us. When we invite people, you don't know what they're coming with, right?
And that's what we started off by saying, no boundaries, right?
Yes.
But let's take this to the thing is,
Yes.
and I learned this, right? Set priorities,
Yes.
but more importantly, set boundaries.
Yeah.
I can only speak for myself, right? I'm not perfect, but I make a conscious effort to be a better person.
Mm-hmm.
I make a conscious effort to be a better listener. I make a conscious effort to be a better servant. Because whomever God brings into my life, you best be prepared to go with them. I am the servant to a greater leader, and I serve you by making myself a conduit. Don't take aim at me, because you're going to hit at the wrong target. There's a song I love to listen to. I give myself away so you can use me.
Oh, yeah.
I got to give myself away every day of my life. Is 1 second closer to the source. Call him whomever you want, but I call him my God. So I gotta set my priorities, but I also have to set the boundaries. And the one thing I promised myself, become. When I came to the US, it was go get it, go get it, go get it, go get it.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I came, what a divorce did for me, and I don't advocate divorces, but what a divorce did for me was I really appreciated who I was more than who I was becoming to preserve a marriage. If it ain't working, it's okay. Don't fight it. Just don't leave bitter.
Yeah.
Your priority is to live a healthy life. Your boundary should be not to entertain negativity. Whether you like it or not, that person you're in a relationship with, they bore kids for you. You happen to have had children.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't, there was something about them that made you feel good. Come on now.
Yeah. Of course, it must
Y'all
have
went
been
on a
something.
date,
Yeah,
the lights were off.
You had a
There was-
honeymoon.
So don't forget that. Set a boundary. Priority, healthy relationships, boundary. There's this amazing sister I call her. She says, toxic, very toxic.
You're always talking about that.
Don't be toxic.
Comedian.
That's the boundary. Don't be toxic.
Yeah.
Priorities and boundaries. But the other thing I say is remove the notion that the best life exists.
Mm-hmm. I'm living my best life.
Oh, come on. What is your best life?
That's the question. That's the follow-up question.
If I focus on becoming a better version of myself, what an amazing experience.
Mm-hmm.
You see, she is special, right? I'm not going to call her name. She is special. And she says, listen to me. Or her famous expression is, you know what? And I go, oh boy. You know what is a call sign to you come to terms with yourself. And I automatically dial myself into that mode and I say, all right, brother, time to grow up, right? Discover yourself. The person in your life is there to help you discover. You know how many hours people spend watching National Geographic, the Discovery channels and all that? Oh, something is on there. I want to discover. What is that animal going to do? Bring that back to yourself. Discover yourself. If your partner is not the best communicator, discover yourself. Are you a better listener?
Mhm.
Don't focus on them being a poor communicator. Are you a better listener? If your partner is all about you are the man, so you should pay for this or you should do this, discover yourself. Maybe that's her own indicator for you to stretch yourself to the capability of what God has put in you. Because women have a unique disposition, I must say. A good woman can birth you into the best version of yourself. Your mother gave birth to you,
To believe that.
and I'm coming to this. Your mother gave birth to you. But as men, you gotta get to a certain level in your life where you realize that the love you have for your mother and the love you have for your wife, there has to be some surgery done. For your mother, that is something you can never change. But also for your mother, she needs to understand that she gave birth to a son who matriculated into manhood. Now, as a man, he has to build a legacy for himself. Let that one go. You're holding on to a boy while dealing with a man.
Mhm.
And don't worry about what his father did not do. I've heard a mother say to her son, like father, like son. What do you think about it? You're pouring your own toxin into that man.
Mhm.
You want to manipulate him into a man he is not. He's discovering himself. The same thing to the daughters. Mother, let your daughter go. Our relationship is not the place to fight the lost battles of your marriage.
Mhm.
Me and you had this conversation once, and we talked about, and I know, and I say this, I don't mean to offend anyone who went to a boarding school. I never did. But let's get real. When you take a child from primary school and you put them through boarding school from 1 to upper C, how much time did you really, let's get real. How much time did you really get to develop them into the woman that today you claim they should be? They were in school, they came home on holidays, and when they got home, how many of them actually did chores around the house? I'm not bashing the sisters. Let's get real. They didn't really do it because there was some other child who came from the village that was staying at home and doing everything, cleaning, cooking, and everything, right? And when the children came home, Mommy, I need to go hang out with my friends and we'll have a sleepover. Oh, because we were of a social status, we bonded. Nothing wrong. If God favored you in that season of your life, bingo. But we gotta get real. The child goes on and then goes to the university. That's the first time of you experiencing who they really are.
Yeah.
That's where they live alone. Sometimes they live at home with the parents. The parents will think, I have the claw on you. You are going to do what? By the way, you go to church on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. By the way, you know all the chapters in the Bible and all the verses. Great. Who is your child? When you turn off the light. Or after you turn off the light. So we have to come to terms with a reality, which is we birth ourselves. We discover ourselves every day. Some people, we just don't need them around us because
Yep. And it's okay to let go.
You gotta let go. I'm not in a relationship to fix you. I am not. But I'm not in the relationship either for you to destroy me. Make me a better person. To this special one, I will say, hey, dear, how can I become a better person? And I have children. When you have to meet my children, I want it to be in a space, first, where we are a unit. Especially I'll be 44. Gosh, at 44, what do you think? I'm not saying being 44 is old, but my priorities are not like the way in my 20s and my 30s.
Not at
In
all.
my 20s and 30s, I was this guy who was just focused on, like,
Boom, boom,
you gotta,
boom.
you gotta.
do it. Yeah, you gotta get it.
The
You have to
40s
go for it.
opened my mind, and I realized, bro, you know this is you, right?
Yeah,
Michelle Obama said it best in her book, I believe,
who are
Becoming.
you?
She talks about something to the effect of, if you're not willing to go out there and invent yourself, right? Well, just be prepared. My paraphrase. Well, just be prepared for others to give you an identity.
Mhm.
And the reason I like that part of the book was it's because every day I make a conscious decision. Who am I becoming in my thought process? Judge who you see out here, but don't play with the person
Thanks.
that's in there, because I want it to be tabula rasa, where my God, through the influence of the Holy Spirit, can come in and write something better. If it ain't for you, don't worry about it. Whomever that is for will appreciate it. And I say, you gotta have a passion to develop your character.
Hmm.
A lot of people will tell you, well, that's just who I am.
Oh yeah, gotta hear that a lot.
But you know, so that chap did like, yeah, and so your woman did, and so maybe, or that's how your husband is. No,
That's right there, yeah.
no. Let's stop validating what's wrong.
Mhm.
Nothing mandates you to talk to your partner with disrespect. I'll tell you what, I always bring this analogy to my loved ones. I say, you realize how much our relationships would be different if we treated our partners anywhere closer to how we treated our bosses. We don't even like some of those people we work with,
Very true. Very true.
but we are punctual and we are dedicated to these people.
Mhm.
Now, I love my boss. I love my coworkers. So let's get this out. I'll tell you this. I left the military at a time in my life when I had a lot to offer,
Mhm.
and God still uses me in ways. Today we have a 501c called the Cameroonian American Military Professionals Organization. We co-founded this. Um, I was a co-founder with a gentleman, and we said, look, how can we create a platform where we can bring our brothers and sisters in arms together?
Mhm.
And today, the people who are running that organization are doing a phenomenal job. From Fort Campbell to wherever there is a Cameroonian present ready to take a brother or a sister under their wing to guide them through the course. We're seeing greater numbers of our brothers and sisters becoming not just serving in the military, but moving up the ranks.
That's good. That's actually something that's going to tell us for you that again at some point when you have time, slot time to reach, if we can have a conversation around the military. here in the US because I've had people have asked me a couple of questions around that. I'm not in the military, but hey, when you talk to someone, again, I always go out and I talk to people. Hey, what do you want for yourself? I tell people you can be anything, and I still find the chance at what do you want for yourself. And in some cases, you hear people say, you hear someone say, I really love the military. I hear it is a good thing to serve in the military in America, but at the same time, I'm so scared. I don't want to have to go to war. And I know I talked to someone that is in your field, and they're like, hey, someone will say, hey, I don't think I'm strong enough. I don't think I'm built for that. But at the same time, there is more in the military than active, like, than combat. I don't know if that's the right word to say. But again, so that's something that I've always wanted to talk to you about. We can do that at some point again when you have time. But it's that information that is very much sought out there. Like the people that talk to because they're not aware, they don't know. Like, and again, it would be an opportunity.
Very briefly, CAMP, CAMP. If you go on Facebook, on Instagram, right? Go on there and type it. You see, and you just drop your message or request, right? We have a dynamic team. Somebody will reach out to you, right? There are U.S. service members of Cameroon descent who are recruiters, who are in all capacities. Somebody will reach out to you. And we so some of us like, oh no, you joined the military because you want to kill people and it's not war. I joined the military because it was my act of appreciation. This country gave me more, and I'm not undermining my land of birth, but this country gave me opportunities. And today, I'm like, wow. You know, I tried joining the military in Cameroon, gendarmerie, and all that. The army recruitment in 1998. I didn't make it. My father was a soldier, and he said he was not going to bribe anybody. I should perform, and if I didn't get it, okay, whatever. I did the gendarmerie concours, and I was never selected. Well, they didn't allow us to write our exams because they told us we had passed the age limit to register for the exam. But when you took our documents, hello, somebody was checking. Why didn't they tell us? But again, you have to respect the laws of the land. So I came to the US and I joined the military. And what a tremendous experience. What a unique experience, I must say. If I had to do it all over again, yes, I will. You know, today, thanks to CAMP, we're still serving, active, as retired, and more importantly, spouses. So the stereotype of soldiers are this, soldiers are that, remove it. By the way, let me use this platform to say we have our convention that's coming up this year in Killeen, Texas. Go on the Cameroonian American Military Professionals page and come to Killeen and see what these men and women do. We have parents back in Cameroon who are calling, who know whom to call here to know how their children are doing. That's who we are. By extension, thanks to the military, I found myself today, you know, working still. I have my full-time job as working for the government, but then also to the side, I work with another nonprofit, right? The African Diaspora Coalition of Tennessee. We put together this initiative with very brilliant minds to say, how can we foster the socioeconomic empowerment of the African diaspora across the state of Tennessee? We're everywhere, but this is a platform to bring people together. And all of these go down, they boil down to one thing, which the military taught me, selfless service.
And I take this opportunity to say thank you for your service.
No.
So far. Yeah. is amazing. Collins, we've had such a great chat. Like just for the time that we've been talking and planning to do this, and I bugging you like, hey, you gotta be in town so we can do this. And I am super happy that this finally happened today. And hey, if you're listening to this, yes, there is more that you want to hear from Colin. So please put it, comment wherever you happen to watch this, be it on the website, on YouTube, on Facebook. Let me know if you want him back, and I'll hunt him and I'll tell him like, hey, this we want to hear more from you. But if you ask me, I definitely want to have you again on this platform. Let's talk. There's again, there's stuff that we've talked about today that I definitely wanted to expatiate on, but I held back because I wanted you to bring your thoughts as they come on, because I respect how people think and how the information, how their thoughts flow, and I wanted to respect that. And I've had a tremendous time listening to you. And hey, thank you so much for respecting my invitation.
It's actually a privilege to be on this platform. And ultimately, thank you. You are an ambassador of good, of hope to the community. And may your platform continue to be enriching as it is. And I hope that better, and I pray that better voices come on this platform. So I've never done this. So lesson learned. And next time I'll have to take the application and submit it to the headquarters for review and approval. But certainly, but here's the thing that I leave with. No matter what we do, no matter what we've been through, we owe it to ourselves to be appreciated, first to own it, to appreciate what we've been through, to learn from it, to empower, and ultimately to have fun.
It's like I do on this show.
Don't have fun. I am sorry to some, drink, party, clothes, whatever. But whatever you do, just remember, make somebody better. Whether you love them or you don't agree with them, leave them better than you found them. At least if they can move on to the next chapter of their lives with that notion that regardless of anything, you still respected them, and it's an amazing thing. To me, that's what I think. So thank you for this opportunity, and I think I leave here a better person than I came in.
Awesome. You see, he just responded. He didn't even let me give him the chance to do his microphone thing while you guys all know what I do. Like, hey, this is your microphone. This is an opportunity for you to talk to the world. And what is it that you're going to tell them? He just responded to that without even waiting for me to say it. But hey, Captain Sakwe, I thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and it's been an amazing time chatting with you. All right. Thank you, Collins. I appreciate it. And hey, we hope to see you again on this platform. Okay? Thank you. I appreciate you once more. Awesome.